Okay, firstly, I would like to apologize everybody for the delay. My Wi-Fi did not want to work, so I had to fully restart my computer, and it took a minute to get everything set up. But outside of that, welcome everyone. Thank you for mm, the delay. Just threw everything off, so I'm just not even going to go into my normal. So we're doing the game idea Foundry Talk episode, and this time I'm going to be talking about F-Zero, how to bring it back, and things that they could add to the game that would be helpful. Since I know Nintendo claims they don't have any ideas, which I feel like that's a lie.
Right.
But I'm gonna throw my ideas in the race to see what they might use. And the two guys that I got with me are the immaculate Sandstorm McDowell.
What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up?
And my good buddy here, Action Jack.
What's going on, everybody? Hopefully we can get this into fruition. You know, as if anybody know Andre, he got a good track record of making things come to fruition. So let's see if we can get F-Zero going.
The man got a crystal ball.
I wish. I really wish. Because if I did, I'd have made several predictions for E3 that would have blown people's minds.
Right.
But first thing I'm going to say is yes, F-Zero automatically will have to be online. It's a racer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a futuristic racer. It automatically has to be online. I don't think anybody's going to have any objection to that.
Right.
I don't know if ambitiously I would push for 30 people racing online, but I think more reasonable 16 at max. I think 16 is a reasonable number for the races.
Yeah.
I would want them to keep the full roster from F-Zero GX, AX, all of the handheld games that came out for everybody in the game. Right. Maybe start you off with like 15 racers that you can start with and unlock the rest as you open up the cups. But everyone from every F-Zero game needs to be here.
Okay.
Third thing that we'd be adding in, some guest characters. So we're going to throw Samus in. We're going to take some characters from Xenoblade Chronicles X. Probably Elma is going to be the first one that people will want to see.
Okay.
Now, I think if they can get it, maybe some characters from Xenogears and Xenosaga, just because it's the same type of technology.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay.
That would be nice.
And there was another series I had thought about, but it's kind of slipping right this moment. But I'd also pick some characters from Star Fox, and I would legitimately.
I was about to say Star Fox.
Full Star Fox.
Yeah.
Just to throw everybody off, though, I wouldn't pick Fox or Falco. I would pick Slippy.
Slippy Toad. Yeah, that's a straight troll right there.
Yeah,
right.
But Slippy know how to fly, so it's not like it's unimaginable. It'd just be like, nah, we ain't gonna give you the two you want.
I feel like if he hit the finish line like every single time, he should be like,
something else.
I thought they had me.
Look, go ahead. What y'all think about that so far?
I like it, especially when you're talking about the characters, because from me listening to other people as far as F-Zero, it's always the characters that brings the aesthetic to F-Zero. You can make a racer with a bunch of bland characters with no personality, no backstory whatsoever, and it won't work. It can be a great game, but a lot of people like to tie into the lore of a game or a franchise. So bringing the characters back was a great idea. Definitely making it online. Like you can't have a racer without being online, because racers in general, along with fighting games, die out real quick if you don't have anyone to play against. Like they're not great single player games because we're not at that point, which is sad, that AI can be just as good as the person across the street. And then also too, how many racers are actually in a particular race, and you mentioned 16, and I'm curious when it comes down to the numbers for F-Zero, because from Mario Kart is whatever. You know, if you put items in, you take them out, it can differ on how things work. But with a game like F-Zero with so much speed, you know, if you fall back too far, if you have too many racers in, there's no way you're catching up. Like it's just not happening. So 16 may be a sweet spot. But it can definitely, I think for me, I think it can dance between 8 to 16, depending on how you want to play. But not more than that, because I think it gets too hectic. Yeah. But I think it'll get too
online,
hectic.
Yeah, definitely at that.
Right. But
other than your main game's still going to be 30. Your main game is definitely still going to be 30 racers on and off the track. 30 people racing.
Right.
Because you're playing by yourself at that point.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that works out for online for sure. The guest characters, that is a plus. It's something that I could see happening there.
I had a little bit of a delay there. What was that?
Oh, okay. Well, I was saying the online for sure, you know, lowering the number of racers. But as far as the guest characters go, I think that's a good addition. It's something that's going to happen well before Mario Kart will. I don't know how they go about picking the roster for Mario Kart. It doesn't seem like it has like a rhyme or reason as into why they pick who they pick. But honestly, F-Zero would definitely benefit from it and possibly have some customized, you know, vehicles and make it stand out for those characters that get brought in, you know, kind of give it the Sakurai effect, and just really, you know, try to make them fit into that world and fit into that lore based off of their vehicle, seeing as you can't see them other than the picture up on the side to let you know what place, you know, a certain character is in. I think he dropped out. We might have to run this until he come back in.
We lost him. That's okay. So I think that, like you said, and I'm gonna back off of both of you guys. I feel like online is good for. It's like a must. It's like a must for that type of game, especially a racer. Just to be able to play with other people, and I'm not gonna say like local play is dead. Because we all got family, so that ends up happening. But that 16, that's like you said, that's a sweet spot. Like it would be, I'm not gonna lie, it would be dope to have 30 people to be able to do that. But I feel like that's just a little bit too heavy, like too intensive to have 30 people in a game like that. And like you said, unless you have, I forgot the name of the feature, is it like auto catch up or
yeah, it's kind of like shoot, what is it called? Not stringing, or it's
like a rubber banding.
Rubber band, there you go.
Yeah.
Rubber band. Yep,
yeah, like
at that point it gets a little I don't get that either.
Like if I dust you, you just got dusted. I don't want you to come back.
Exactly.
So I think the 16, like you said, is definitely a sweet spot. Even if you fill the other 14 with just CPU, you know, I still feel like that really works. You can have that on or off. The guest characters, I feel like he was on to something with the Xenoblade stuff. Definitely with those characters. I feel like Chaos would probably make a good character, as she's from Xenoblade Saga. So yeah. And like I said, Star Fox having Sleepy Toad in there. I would even
perfect.
Yeah, I actually, as a matter of fact, I probably put Peppy in there, and I would have what's the iguana dude's name? The villain. I'd have him and Pigma. But like none of the main faces, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that'll make it.
Yeah, that's too cliche. Like let them get some sort of shine. But just overall with how many people you would have in the game and the online features and the speed of the game, because I'm gonna assume GX was the last one, right? For the GameCube.
Yeah, GX for the GameCube, and I think like the AX was the arcade.
Okay, so when you got GX, I'm pretty sure that was 60 frames. So this one's gonna be 60 frames too, but
You have to.
yeah, when you play a game like that, you don't want them dipping either. So
Nah, not at all.
and F-Zero is known for F-Zero is known for like having lustrous backgrounds along with the tracks. So there's going to be a lot of stuff moving on. Like you said, that 16 is just perfect. That's a balance between trying to get all that stuff put in along with having the users being able to run that too. So
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the whole illustrious backgrounds, because I mean it was the same thing with Fast RMX and Fast Neo on the Wii U, to where the backgrounds were so beautiful you end up getting captivated in them, and sometimes had you fly off the track.
right.
But when it comes down to racers, I think for me the biggest issue with racers, no matter how elusive the tracks may be or how illustrious they may be, they always seemed, once when I'm done with them here and there, they kind of get burnt out.
Oh yeah.
But I always kind of go back to Starlink. As much as people that didn't like it, I go back to Starlink, and I go back for this reason, for this certain topic. Having, I wouldn't necessarily say an open world racer, but having like those open environments to where they kind of take that Forza Horizon approach of, hey, here's the finish line. You figure out how to get there.
Ooh.
It's just, you need to get from point A to point B, but you decide between this nice, terrain where we got mountains over here. We might have swamps, this, that, and the third. So while you think you might be taking a shortcut, you could end up screwing yourself over and end up in a pit somewhere. And I think it'll add a little bit more. I mean, it was already difficult, but being in these bigger illustrious environments, instead of just being to this little road, confined to a road with some speed boosters here and there, cool, fun, but I think it can go over the top with an open world race aspect of it, if you will.
Yeah, that would open up the replayability too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, unfortunately, my computer decided it wanted to drop a signal on me and kick me out. But I was listening in. And you actually went the direction I was going to go, which is hilarious. Because I was actually going to say something similar to that, because I had an idea, but it was going to go along the lines of with doing custom cars and like having your own custom character in the game as a racer.
Yeah.
To have an adventure mode in it, similar to what Diddy Kong Racing did, where it opens up a wide area where you can explore it with your character, but be allowed to explore it in and out of your car.
Right.
So,
nice.
And I was thinking, like, just because Nintendo needs to do more stuff with them, using the Mii's as the custom character.
I would dare say that if they use the Mii's and stuff like that, and actually, as a matter of fact, I just got Mario. I got Mario Golf, and the Mii's don't look like how they really used to. They look a lot more mature. And not from like an age aspect, but like matured on design. You know what I mean?
Right.
So to put them into a game like that, and have them being able to walk around, obviously the interaction is probably going to be limited, because this would be like the first time they do something, but like have you can drive to the custom car garage area, check out that area, or even your clothes design area, which, let's be honest, we still gonna do, even though that's not important in the game.
Right.
Just to be able to go to those different sections and be able to play. And I'll even kind of try and push it further, is that if it's going to be a game like that, you can choose the option, whether it be online or you have that straight out single player experience, but you can see other people in the lobby open world area.
Okay.
And then when you want to go to the track or start a race or whatever, that's when, you could do that.
Sort of like what Nintendo Land did.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep. So I think that would be that would be cold, man. If they could make that, like, okay, if it's a bigger, you could do two things. you can either have different planets where your so-called airplane flies to another, or spaceship flies to another planet, so that's where you do another race at, or you can choose to have all these tracks, if you will, on the same planet, but you go different distances to get to those different races.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So what was the
You fell right in the line where I was going.
what was the Star Wars racer that was on the GameCube?
was
Pod
it just racer? Yeah.
Pod Racer.
Was it Pod Racer?
I think like
No, Pod Racer was 64, but I think it was just called Racer for.
okay. Because the that
might
was
have
kind
been,
of in the vein of what I was looking for as far as like terrains or the
Mhm.
different levels, because it just really felt like, okay, I'm just bobbing and weaving out of mountains and things of that nature. Because F-Zero, that's just perfect for it. It's
Right.
blistering speed, and you got to duck and dodge this and get past
Yeah.
that and do this and this snow level
Well-
and this mountain level. It was perfect.
See, that's another thing I was going to talk about, having different, not only different types of terrain and stuff like that, but to have different types of races. Like where
Okay.
you have, your standard F-Zero race, you're doing laps around all
Okay.
these intricate turns and stuff. That could be your normal race. Then you could have a point A to point B race where you're just racing down from one end of the track to the next.
Mhm.
Like it's just one
Mm.
continuous race with some checkpoints in between.
Right.
And then possibly even have some team style races that are kind of like relay,
Ooh,
Yeah.
that would be
Mhm.
cool.
having it on those types of tracks where you can have it on your base tracks, so you're like point A to B tracks, sort of like what Mario Kart had done.
That would be cool. I would turn that. I would actually, since we're talking 16 people, break that down into 8
Yep.
and just put you on a team with somebody else, and it just be 8. I guess 8 versus 8. Make it 4 laps
Yeah.
instead of 3. That would be perfect.
Because honestly, I mean, we're in the time frame of Olympics. You
Mhm.
talk about the baton pass. It's like, okay, like Andre said, we have a point A, point B. We got who we think is our fastest racer
Mhm.
at the middle mark. So all I gotta do is get there before the first guy.
Right.
And once when I get there, then bam, you take off and then try to finish the race off.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things they can do with racing as far as racing types. And I think they just kind of keep them confined to cars, opposed to looking at what we do on foot
Yeah.
and try to come up with those different ideas and aspects as far as what you can do as competitions as far as
Mhm.
racing goes. But yeah, that 4-on-4 or 8-on-8, to where like sometimes it's not as hectic as having all 16 on there at one time. But hey, you're on this part of the track, I can't see you on this part of the track, and y'all try to get there as fast as possible. You got too many obstacles in your way, or I could be hitting something on this end to, it's more Mario Kart style, but hit something over on this end to get something sent over to your side of the track. There's so many things they could do.
That would be amazing. It's almost like double. It's almost like Double Dash without being on the same cart.
Exactly.
You're fighting.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I think
that
too.
that is another thing they could do.
I think too, how you were saying to go from the point A to B, that person would be able to kind of like visually watch.
Mhm.
We're on the Switch, so it's not like you can directly call from your Switch or whatever. There's not like an open server to be able to talk to that person. But just to be able to look at like the whole 360 of how somebody else is driving, and maybe you have like pre-scripted words or whatever, guy coming up on your right,
Right.
know, watch it back, or something like that you can just press like A or B or something like that, and it pops up on the
Mhm.
other person's screen. I think that would work perfectly.
Yeah. So the whole theme of the game
it
can be
would do.
centered around team racing.
Yeah.
It really can. I mean, honestly, when you talk about that aspect of it, watching him to let him know what's going on, and then also seeing what's coming up next, because you might have your dirty racers, you know what I mean,
Ooh.
like, or whatever the case. Because we were just watching Too
Mhm.
Fast, Too Furious, and the way that they won that race was, Paul Walker had to go head on with him,
Right.
and then he swerved off the road. But just to kind of raise the stakes a little bit, to win your races. And I know sometimes with F-Zero, your vehicles are very sensitive. So with that high speed and they hit anything is carnage. But but maybe they can, right. Maybe they can kind of take off a little of the damage and say like, okay, well, maybe you can bump a little bit. Maybe you can send people flying like Burnout, a little bit. Hey, let me send them over into this rock, so that way I can get a head start. Play a little dirty ball a little bit. But yeah, I mean, they could do.
People did that on F-Zero and F-Zero X and GX back in the day.
I know GX has that little
jump is coming up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you done for. They had that little like side attack, side bump. Oh man,
You had the bump and you had the spin attack that would knock everybody around you away. So it and that was great for when you knew a jump was coming up. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all they have to do is look at Burnout, look at Midnight Club, Diddy Kong. There's the platforms there. They just have to mix it well. It's nothing crazy.
Another game they could look at. Another game they could look at was the one that Racer Disney put out years ago, Split Second, whereas you're racing the track evolves as you're racing. I wouldn't do it for every race,
right?
But for certain races, I'd set up so that like they're like your standard races, but we call them carnage races.
Right?
They give them a whole separate name. But you're looping the track, but as you're looping the track, things change on the track. And I think Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing did this too.
Where
the track evolves as you were racing.
It's
for
just
certain situations, just for certain situations, some races it has a scripted change, and others can change depending on what you do during the race.
So now are we getting into vehicle changes as well? So where I mean, yes, we already got these fast, I guess you can call them jets or hover cars or whatever. I mean, they should be able to fly. I mean, hell, you're going fast enough. So we go to jets and hover cars. And
I could see it being, I could see it being done, but at the same time, I don't think you'd want to do that with F-Zero just because it might take the challenge away. Because some people are going to have the opportunity to take flight. They're going to do it all the time, and they're going to try to circumvent the race.
Yeah.
Well, Sonic made sure it was per portion of the level. So if we're talking about like, hey, the scripted aspect of it, when it came down to Sonic, whenever I got done, let's say with lap 1, when I'm in my car, you'll see stuff start breaking down, and then we, convert it into the airplane. And then after we got done with the airplane, it would convert into like the hover boats to where it was scripted. There was no, I'm in a boat and you're in a plane. Like that's not happening. But the only time I've seen that happen is with Diddy Kong, to where you could choose, hey, look, I want to be in this, and I want to be in that. So, but they would have to balance the hell out the game to do it that way. But I like the scripted aspect from Sonic.
I think if you do it that way, like you said, with the balance,
Diddy Kong didn't really give you too much of that.
Nah,
I think it would, if you're gonna do that. Well, one, I don't think it should be on every level. I think it should be a per level base.
Yep.
And so like if you're doing like an all terrain one, you automatically have that X like at the top of your screen, like no fly zone.
Right.
But if you add the airplane element to it, which I'm definitely not against, I would make it balanced. Like you got to go through rings or something like that.
Yeah.
Like there's where cars don't have to do that, or the car is faster than the plane, but the plane may have an option to go through a shorter route.
Okay.
That way, depending on like if I said, let's say, oh, he's gone again. Oh, he's back again.
It's like it don't like me. It don't like me for some reason.
Let's say if you're the hover car or whatever, you've got a wider turn, but up top the track is split by a pillar, and the car has to take the wider turn, but the plane can veer on the inside. the speed of the plane would be slower than the car, so the car actually has enough time to either like be right behind the plane, you know what I mean? But I feel like even so, like at the end, maybe like the last 200, 300 meters, you have to go back down to a car. Like, you can't finish this race off as a plane, like, because that gives I feel like that gives the last opportunity or like the last chance for somebody who's in a car maybe to have like a speed boost or something like that, or anything to kind of mess with that other person. And I know you hate it, that last blue shell like right before the finish line, but like it would be nice to be able to have something like that where you can tackle somebody, and I don't think like giving somebody a missile for them to shoot a plane in the air, I don't think that's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of difficult, especially
because that
just
just don't jive with F-Zero, but
No.
yeah. Well, I mean, if we're going to do it though, I think it would be best to just have everybody doing it at the same time, like you said, during the scripted races. I think the problem is with the ones that would be unscripted, where you can affect the terrain, it shouldn't be allowed.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
That would allow people to circumvent the extra challenges that are created.
Right. And I know, like, with split second biggest issue. Like, I enjoyed the game as soon as I started, but after a while, you knew what was coming because there were so few scenarios. So you already knew, okay, when this turn comes up, I'll watch out for it because the computer's going to trigger it. It happens every time. So let me stay on the left side so that way nothing happens. But if they try to, I don't know, cycle it out or try to find different ways to do it, I don't know how you can go about doing it without destroying the entire level. But try to find, I guess you could say, areas where you can actually make this happen without it becoming repetitive.
Right.
But I like the idea that we do have other races.
Good example.
Okay.
Yeah. I can give you a good example though of an F-Zero level that this would work real well on. And most of the time, most of them are the big blue levels where you got wide open spaces to ride around, and they're like usually points where there are very sharp corners. You can set it up so somebody bumps a corner, it knocks the rail off at that particular point. And then people not knowing that rail isn't there don't prepare for that turn coming up, and they just go flying right off the course. Or you can have set up a way that you can hit certain jumps, and you hit a certain jump, it'll unlock another portion of the course, and when you get to it, you'll find it gives you a little bit of a shortcut, but that shortcut is another dangerous jump that you got to take the risk to get. Stuff like that. It's easy enough to set it up. Or you bump into a wall again, and you ride along a power strip, and you hit a certain point at that power strip, and it opens up a minefield. There's stuff that they can do.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean,
it's not extremely easy to do, but it would make the levels a lot more fun.
And that's the thing. Like, F-Zero, I think, doesn't have the restriction that Mario has. I feel like Mario has to stay within like this bubble. Otherwise, it doesn't appeal to the masses like it does now. So you can't go too far left with Mario. So F-Zero is kind of like the project child. You can do whatever you want to try to see if it fits. If it don't fit, see if it fit in Mario, and you can pass it on to Mario. But with what we're explaining now, honestly, the game could be amazing. It can be amazing.
Now, let me ask y'all this, since we kind of on the topic of terrain. Underwater level?
No.
No?
Yeah.
No.
Underwater. You could do it. You could do it, but it can't be a lot. It can be like maybe 2-3 different levels where you have an underwater segment, but it would have to be limited because you don't want something that's going to slow the races down too much. Because that's going to be very boring. But there are things they could do with it. Like they could throw in little hazards underwater that could slow you down. Like maybe a current that pushes against your car that if you get caught in the wrong spot, or it could completely throw you out the race
Yeah,
if
Right.
you're not careful enough.
a fish or
So
something
it's
like
possible.
that.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely
like,
possible. It wouldn't be something I asked for, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah. He said, "Not I."
I'm not asking for it.
you're like, nah, we're gonna leave that one alone.
Like I said, water levels. I don't know what I guess it's the difficulty of, I guess, how we traverse through water. But I don't know too many games that do water levels well. I don't like water levels.
I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you.
Water levels are annoying.
Or you could set it up so that somebody has to maintain a certain speed to stay above the water. But
Yeah,
if they
that would
start
be
to dip, then
interesting.
their car starts to sink down and it slows them down.
I mean, they got the speed for it, so
Yeah.
might as well.
Yeah, and
Ooh,
we
that'd be
talking.
tough.
We were talking hover cars.
Something that doesn't fully pull you out of the race.
Okay. So at that point, we don't need a hover car because the one you have is going so fast it can traverse over water. But
Exactly.
you slow down or somebody hits you. Boop, 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 boop.
Yep.
So-
Yep. It takes you longer to
Ascend,
get back into that speed.
Yeah. Yep. And this action, it just.
Mhm.
So I mean, I know I would be. I would wholeheartedly be right behind you when you in first place, and I wait for you to get
Just wait.
Yeah, you messed
just
it up.
fast enough to pass me. And the second we catch that water, pop.
Yeah.
You done messed up.
I mean,
But
there's
Here would be the thing. Here would be the thing. Two people trying. I was gonna say two people trying to do it to each other at the same time. They both fall in it.
Third place is king.
every time, man. You camp out in fifth and let everything happen up front. That's how Mario work out. But I mean, honestly, for this game, it doesn't require much. Like I said, the blueprint's already out there. It's just up to Nintendo to figure out how they want to piece it all together. But as far as the characters, do you guys feel like the guest characters are enough, or should they introduce these new characters and then also find a way for you to, I guess, get well informed about these characters? Because I know most people know about Falcon,
Right.
but they don't know about the other characters that are within these games because they're not on your Smash Brothers or they're not as well known. So do we find a way to do that, or do we care?
Well,
they could still. I was like, they could still do the exact same thing that Smash does.
Okay.
here's
Just give
the
all the
thing.
character bios.
Yeah, because I guess that's probably gonna be the easiest way. Because GX, they had the story mode for Falcon and kind of gave his whole backstory and story through that. But yeah, I definitely want to know about these other characters. But like the game that we're talking about, especially if we're talking about we're riding with Mii's, how do you implement like a story, their backstory of all these other characters into that would make it difficult. So
you could. I mean, between races, like if we're doing like an overworld between races, they could always have it set up so you can meet the other racers between the races and strike up a conversation with them.
Yeah,
just like as NPCs in the bigger world.
Or give them like side missions too.
There's ways to do it.
That too.
Things that can earn you extra parts for your custom car and all that stuff.
Right.
I think on what you were saying about the extra characters like that we bring in, your Samus and all of those DLC. Maybe you give them one. Maybe you give them one character that came with the game, and I almost feel like that should probably be Samus. Though ironically, so I feel like that's the one that would probably get bought the most as a DLC character.
Right.
But like, if she wasn't, I feel like Samus is pretty much in that same if not, she is, if I'm not mistaken, in that same universe as Falcon anyway.
Mhm.
As both being bounty hunters, I feel like it just goes. So, but like I said before, like you can easily throw any of the other ones that we named in there, even smaller, like you know, one of the Xenoblade people, and then throw in everybody else as a DLC character
I,
and get away with it.
I think that's at this point you do have to have a story mode. You have to,
Hmm.
because you're gonna have to explain where these characters come from.
Hmm.
You know, because the one thing that I think helps Smash alleviate that is the trailers
Yep.
of, hey, you know, I got invited, so we about to go do this big tournament. And you can do the same thing with F-Zero, like,
Yeah.
hey, you know, take the Smash Brothers approach. But in regards to those guest characters, I think my biggest issue with racers, there's never been a big distinction between racers per se. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So Mario Kart does a good job at it of saying, hey, here's the heavy racers, here's the medium racers, here's the, you know, smaller racers which are faster, and then they add the tires, the vehicle itself, and it all plays a part in your stats, if you will.
Right.
So at that point, when you're talking about F-Zero vehicles, they don't have that many parts like
Mm-mm.
a race car.
Mm-mm.
So either you have to start creating inner parts and computer chips and, you know, little special wings and stuff like that to
Hmm.
make those differences as far as the vehicle goes. But curious as well, I know they had the whole heavy thing as well.
Hmm.
So I mean, you can factor that in and, you know, see how you
Yeah.
counterbalance that. When you talk about Samus, she has a suit on. Okay, if I have the suit on, does it make me heavy? And then when I take it off, with zero suit Samus, does it make me a medium or a light so I can go faster? Like, are you gonna get
Okay.
that detailed, or are you just gonna BS me and just say, hey, she's in the game, here's a vehicle and she races? So
Oh man.
I mean,
I think you were on to something with like the wings and stuff like that.
yeah.
So the one thing that, like you said, Mario Kart really did right is give you stats.
Hmm.
Like all the way down to like your parachutes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that would increase acceleration, but it might make you heavier and you might lose speed to that.
Right.
And so like as you're building your car per se, um like you can add those little things. Like I can add a little spoiler onto the back of mine and it may give me, better draft, but at the cost of a top speed or something like that.
Right.
And actually, if we're even talking terrain like that, that could affect how high or how low your car is sitting above the terrain, which
Right.
would affect like your acceleration. If we're talking water levels, that
Hmm.
you have to keep a certain speed, that'll knock you down a lot faster.
Yeah.
Uh, so like I think you're really on to something about like the add in and subtracting and being really conscious about what you're putting on your car.
Strategic.
Instead of being like, okay, this car looks cool, this is exactly what I want. If we're talking about Samus, I feel like change of suit is probably going a little too far, but
Okay.
I also feel like Nintendo is really kind of strict on their own property.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So how much you can change, I almost feel like if they did Samus, like her car would be average across the board and maybe slightly faster. It would be her spaceship. That's what it's going to be.
That's what I was thinking, like her spaceship. But you know,
Yeah.
as far as that, like, because I know I'll lose it if I don't say it, but as far as the water aspect, so say for example, you got your heavy character
Hmm.
and you just bog down your vehicle for whatever reason with a whole bunch of parts,
Hmm.
that water level is going to be a struggle for you because you can't stay afloat no matter how fast you go. You can't stay afloat
Exactly. Exactly.
because I think, you
well,
know, where
that's
a
where
lot
you
of
get
people
loose.
lose, right? And that's why I think a lot of people, I guess, get confused with Nintendo, to where I understand they want everything to be for everybody
Hmm.
because they want to appeal to everybody, but they have to have that game that's for the purists, the ones
Right.
that are like, hey, look, this is my racer. The same way Microsoft has Forza Motorsports and Forza Horizon, we can have F-Zero and Mario Kart.
Hmm.
You don't want them in the same camp. So when it comes down to Mario, I don't care
Yeah.
to be this technical. But in F-Zero, make it this technical. Make me think about, okay, well, dag, I put a little bit too much, because they're kind of doing it with Mario Golf. If you got to that point within the single player mode, because if you're carrying too many clubs, it's too heavy and it slows your speed down. So they're doing it now. It's just, can we incorporate this in a racer?
Oh yeah, it's easy enough. They could definitely do it. And I feel like they did it with they kind of set themselves up with GX anyway, you know, be able to create your own car and to add things and subtract things. So it's not like they haven't done it before.
Right. So do we get into like, even though we do have the open
enough to do it?
True. Yeah, that's for sure. But do we get to the point of, even with this being like an open area type of racer, do we get I guess to that point of creating tracks or creating routes to be
that was the thing I was going to say. That was the thing I was going to say. Have a track editor, let people build their own tracks and share them. But they wouldn't be incorporated in the main game, obviously. But if you share them online, you can race other people on them.
Okay.
Which should be innate to F-Zero anyway, because it was part of F-Zero X if you were lucky enough to have a DD. And it was also on the last GBA game, they had custom tracks available.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they could catch the best of both worlds, because I got a feeling everything we're talking about right now, a purist is going to hate it. So we can go into a tournament stadium mode to where, hey, the tracks that you're accustomed to from all the previous F-Zeros, you can still race on those type of tracks. But outside of the stadium tournament, I guess arena, we're out here in the field racing this way.
Right. Real racers,
right?
Real racers.
You can run in the mountains, you can run into icebergs, you can run into this. But if you want to keep it, you know, old school, go to the stadium and go race inside the stadium. You don't have to worry about terrain. You don't have to worry about any of that. It's just the speed boosters and you and the other racers. That's it. So, I mean, that's the way that you can still have the open terrain and also have the original without messing it up somehow. You can just have a stadium area for the original. And then, you know, if you go into different areas, okay, in this stadium, this is what this track is looks like. And then in this stadium kind of pull a Pokemon. Okay, go to this Pokemon stadium. And now you got to challenge this dude and do this, but this is what his track looks like. And I think that's where you get into, okay, now I have, let's say, I don't know, a good count will probably be 20 tracks. So 20 different environments, 20 different stadiums. And that's how you go about getting your trophies, your medallions, whatever you want to collect at that point, and beat these particular bosses, if you will, to unlock them. Because I really need unlocking to come back. I'm so tired of
them just being there, huh?
Or being there, or either DLC. I just need unlocking to come back.
I think what you can tie into that too. Actually, I got two different ones. So I'm gonna go along with what you said first. I think too, there are gonna be those people who are just gonna be like want to be the classic gamer. Or the classic level people, and there's going to be the people who are going to want to play the ones outside. How you get those people to play the opposite of what they normally do, I think you were onto something with the unlocking, is that in order to unlock certain parts or something like that, you have to play some of these classic levels.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in order to unlock these parts, you may have to play the outside levels.
Gotcha. Okay.
Here's the simple way to do it. The simple and easy way to do it is to make what we're talking about be a game mode, make the open world game mode.
Right.
Whereas basically just adventure mode from Diddy Kong Racing, we all know this. And then have your
Oh no, he went out.
I said internet's not liking him today.
Man.
I got a premise idea of where he was going with it, to where it's open world, the adventure world, and then you're unlocking the stadiums, if you will, so that way you can go over to that area and do that. I mean, that definitely would work out to keep them separate, as opposed to keeping them all in one world. Because, like he said, people gonna get pissed off. Like, so you mean to tell me I gotta do the open world to unlock what I really want?
Yeah, that's
And
true. That's
so
true.
keep them split. Because I mean, once again, Mario Golf is currently doing that. You want a regular golf game? Go do it. You want to do the adventure mode? Go do it. You want to go play online? Go do it. There's nothing that we're forcing you to dabble in, so that way we can feel important for making this mode, and that you actively played it, even though we made you play it, for you to actually get where you want to get to.
I actually okay, so the other part that I was, because you guys were talking about the custom edit for the tracks. I think you can go about it two ways.
Okay.
So you have what I would call quick track mode. So if you're in the open world, right, and you just want to make a quick track or something like that, to race, make your circuit. You kind of put the white dot on top of your car or whatever, and you allow that car to go however far, certain amount of distance or whatever.
Right.
And then it's all open world, so you can kind of make the circuit how you want to, and then go back to that place that you started at. And then it pops up like, okay, where do you want to tweak this, or how do you want to tweak this? And then it kind of just makes your mode or makes that track your quick track. And then you've got the actual track editor where you can like really get into details and stuff like that. I think that would be something really good for people who just like are really kind of trying to just like race a friend or something like that, make a quick mode or something like that for them. And then you got your other ones that I would say keep the quick tracks just for that, but your track editor, your full-fledged track editor, is something that you would put that you can send online. You know what I'm saying? Like actually put detail and stuff like that into.
Gotcha. I like that, especially with the racing aspect of it, of how you can drive around and create it, because you're going so fast. It's like, ooh, let me make this turn real quick. You can really just come up with some crazy tracks that way, because it's like, I almost didn't make this because I didn't see this opening.
Right.
But no one else is going to catch this to look at it. But, like any other game, it's like, okay, you got to beat it for you to post it. You can't just be out here drawing crazy stuff and you can't beat it yourself.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's perfect, and then, like you said, there are some people that just want to, go and draw it out and get a little bit more detailed. I mean, you and I both doing music. You got people that want to drum out their stuff, and those that want to click it with the mouse.
Right.
You got different people for different thing, for the same thing, if you will. But yeah, I mean, that'd be perfect, and just kind of set it up that way. How many laps you want. Yeah, I mean, however you want the style to be, whether it's from point A to point B, or one time around and it's just one big lap.
Stupid big track.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things. And even with you talking about that, of even getting into like the drag racing aspect too, to where it's like, all right, strategically, you got to come in with the fastest pod racer or whatever you want to call it that you have, because we're going from here to here, and we got the light. Take off as soon as possible.
Right.
And then, because I mean, they had it in what it was Midnight Club. It's just like from here to here, you better haul ass. It's so many things they can do. And it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I like that track editor idea though, for sure.
So I know Andre's not here, so he'll probably answer the question himself. But if you had an option, let's say it's not Nintendo themselves. Let's say Nintendo is busy, and all their other parties are busy. Who would you feel the most comfortable trying to give a project like this? Say like, here, I got the format for you. This is what I want. Nintendo's telling you, this is what I want. Everything that we're saying, I want you to put all of this in here. Who you giving it to?
For me, I'm giving it to two. One for sure, I'm giving it to Shannon for the racing aspect of it, because of what they did with Fast RMX. But then I'm also bringing Ubisoft into it.
Dang, you took mine.
and here's why. And here's why, because with Shannon, I like I said, I think they got the racing aspect down. They got the vehicle aspect down. They figured that out. They just need a little bit of sauce, a little bit more for it for sure. But then when you come down to what we're talking about as far as the terrain, Ubisoft got that, especially in the fact the Star. There you go. So I feel like Ubisoft, while Starlink was cool as far as the racing, I didn't like how the vehicles moved, and I think that's where Shannon comes in. But as far as that terrain, I don't know if Shannon has a team big enough to do nothing like that.
Yeah.
So especially if we're talking about 20 tracks,
Right.
so I think that's all Shannon and Ubisoft. I think that they have to be a team for that.
I can definitely see that. Yeah, like you said, Starlink. I mean, the terrain on Starlink is just, especially when you get into like the later worlds, it starts becoming ridiculous. Just from what they can accomplish, and Shannon just having, I wouldn't even say just the speed, but just the visual look about you going fast in that game and still being able to control, because these cars are going 700-800 plus miles an hour,
right?
But they still feel smooth enough where it's like you really just driving like 60 miles an hour. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think you're right about that. I think if both of them work together, they could actually make a pretty dope F-Zero game.
They could.
And I would even say I really like how Ubisoft did the models for a lot of the characters from Starlink too. And they could be slick. That could be DLC right there. You could just throw in some of the Starlink characters. So yeah, definitely those.
I think it would definitely work out perfect. I think the only issue I took with Fast RMX, and I don't know if this is just my vision, whatever the case may be, but staring at those tracks for too long, like they give your eyes fatigue real fast.
They're almost, some of them are almost too bright.
Yeah. And then even like the rain and the dark levels is just like, dude, I can't see where to go. Like,
was that on purpose or like
right? and so it'll throw you off. And when we're talking about in terrain, you don't necessarily have to worry about going so fast that you're flying off the track. And not to mention with Fast RMX, and it just popped in my head, do we go with the whole color swapping thing, or no, we leave that alone?
You know what? As cool as that was, I feel like that's just a Fast RMX thing. Like, because I've sat here and watched both Baby Sandstorm and Sandbox, my son, play that game, and like if there's two different sides of it. Like, I know well enough if I can learn the track, like going from blue to yellow is easy. Like, that's no problem. But especially if you're like a newcomer, that gets so frustrating when you are trying to go as fast as you can, and instead it just slows you down just because you're in the wrong spot with the wrong color. Exactly. So I can see them just having it like the olden days. Well, okay, put it like this. That there's those strips in Fast RMX that build up the boost. That's something I would keep. I would keep that to be able to do the boost for your car individually. So if you miss those, you just miss those.
You miss them. Yeah.
But I would leave the color, the track boosts themselves. I would just leave them one color.
Okay. Yeah, because that's a little too much, especially like I said, with the speed on top of that. I get where they were going, but that's a bit too much. But I just wanted to bring that up. But yeah, definitely the boost strips. Because I don't want any more hazards in the way that I'm trying to go and get that's not necessary.
Right.
So if I'm talking about the boost strip, okay, I'm gonna go out my way to get that. But if I got mountains and all this other stuff that I'm ducking and dodging, no, I'm not trying to do all that.
Right.
So and then definitely when you're talking about how these tracks are built, you want to keep it very simplistic as far as what you need to do as the racer, as far as keep up your speed and then just dodge and win the race. You don't want too much going on with that type of speed. You don't want too much going on.
Right. And knowing Nintendo as well as we do, every game has like is they hit the sweet spot in almost every game in the aspect of every game on the whole is for everybody, but you can take it to a whole different advanced level. You know, like Smash is for everybody. Like everybody can play that game. But there's those elitists that are like just at a whole different level because they know how to play the game just entirely different. So I feel like I was just about to call it Fast F-Zero. I think F-Zero can definitely be that game where it can be entry for anybody who's interested in those fast type of games. But like for that person who wants all the highest stats, or you know, wants their car to be the best, like there's that level for you too. So I think but like you said, I think adding the extra hazards and stuff like that, falling rocks on top of knowing when to switch between blue or red and all that, like that'll be a headache for an entry level person.
Way too much. Yeah, I meant so hazard, because I almost forgot about the hazard part, where it's like, okay, I'm riding, and next thing you know, something triggers, and now I see an avalanche coming down this way. I'm like, shoot, okay,
can't get that.
Right, like the car is already moving fast enough, so I already have a split second to make a decision on whether I'm going left or I'm going right. You know, so or either hopefully there's a jump I can possibly do as well. But yeah, I mean, these were all fantastic ideas. But I mean, so you
hit on everything I was thinking.
It's easy once when you get it flowing, the game creates itself.
For everybody that doesn't know, this is how I make most of my videos. Off the top of my head. And I was telling Sam Storm that before we even got started. But my computer decided it wanted to crap out.
Oh, wow.
And we're approaching to an hour, and this is around the time I was going to go ahead and wrap things up. But I think we're going to have to do a 0.5 on this. Because that I didn't get to say that since my computer wanted to be a pain in the butt, I have to go back and do. But I thank y'all for holding the fort down right y'all got into this stuff, and I had my phone to listen in just in case I was having more issues, and I'm like, damn, they say everything I was going to say. There's a few minor details that are missing, but we'll get into that because we're going to do a 0.5. Y'all two going to have to come back because it wouldn't be right if I do a 0.5 without y'all, since y'all got most of what I was going to say right anyway.
Right.
So we're going to do that, but we need to wrap up the show now because there's a couple other things I got to do, and fixing the issue with my Wi-Fi on this computer is one of them.
Gotcha.
Luckily, I had a Amazon tablet nearby, and I could join back in through that. I wish I had done that in the first place, but at least I was able to fix it. Get back on, and I can actually properly stop the show. So, for everybody that's listening in, and you listening on Anchor, and you wonder why I went silent for a good 10 minutes, I think.
That's why. That's right. I forgot about Anchor.
But before we go, we'll just let you guys pimp out what you want to. Sam Storm, you can go ahead and go first.
Oh man, we got a entirely busy lineup coming up. Tomorrow we got part 3 of another subscriber coming on for E3, talk about how they felt. I'll give the time out later. I still got to get with them. And then like the following week is just straight YouTubers. So we got somebody Tuesday coming, 2 people coming Tuesday. We got 2 people coming Wednesday. We got Thursday lined up, and then coming into Friday, I may or may not do something. So we're going to be pretty busy on the channel.
All right, Jack, what you got coming up?
Oh man, it's sporadic at this point. You know, now I got the free time. It's anything that comes to my head. I just, decide I'm going to do a video, because instead of straying away from Twitter like I planned on doing, I'm just going to start making videos on the stupidity. It's just getting amazing. So the video that I'll either record tonight or I'll record tomorrow morning it'll definitely be in vein of the whole virtual console thing. That's gonna definitely be my very first video as far as the lineup of videos that I'm gonna have. So the virtual console conversation, and then the one after that is gonna be the Game Pass conversation. I have a plethora of things to say, and the specific for Game Pass is why is Game Pass being held to a certain criteria of where they should monitor what games get on Game Pass, but you're not asking all developers and all other system manufacturers to do the same thing for the console, to where you're paying 60 or 70, to where Game Pass is giving it to you for 15 a month.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'll go a little bit more in detail about that.
Okay, cool. Really wish that I wasn't having those. Now the Wi-Fi wants to come back on it. You know what? But
that's the
as I
man.
said
They heard
before-
you talking too much. They
Talking
try
way
to
too much.
they try to break you down right now.
They done with that Pokemon lawsuit now. They coming for you.
Oh shit! All right, Nintendo, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Right.
Y'all coming for me like that? That means my ideas are right.
Yeah, they on point.
Oh man, but that was funny. But as I've said before, we're doing the 0.5 of this because there's some other stuff I wanted to include.
Okay.
But as I've said before for this series multiple times, if anybody's interested, whether you are a YouTuber, you follow me on Twitter, you're a subscriber on YouTube, if you're interested in joining, just send me a message, let me know. We can set something up. And if you got an idea that you think is worth the time or you want to workshop it, that's what this is for. And like Jack can attest to that because we went over his Goemon idea the last episode.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was a fire ass idea. But I have a particular someone that's interested in doing a celebrity death match one who wants to come on, and she has a couple other ideas for some games. So we'll be talking about that too at some point. We gotta work out how the schedule's gonna work on that.
Right.
But I think since this one happened like this, in 2 weeks we will do the 0.5 instead of the 0.5 for episode 6 instead of episode 7.
Okay.
So that way everybody knows, and hopefully y'all enjoyed this. I know I was quiet a good deal of this just due to issues and maybe Nintendo sending their ninjas to try to mess up my network. It's okay.
Yeah. We already doing that. Be quiet.
Right.
Hush.
But thank you everybody that joined in. Thank you FJ for being in the comments section.
Always.
Thank you Sandstorm and Jack for being a part of the discussion. Everybody enjoy your night. I'm not going to give my normal spiel. You done. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.